All right, welcome to this explainer. If you're a focused learner looking to truly figure out the nuts and bolts of human behavior, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to unpack a definitive masterclass level breakdown of human psychology, and we're drawing this straight from some highly effective exam-friendly notes. We'll be looking at the internal engine of who we are, and then the external lens of how we actually see the world. It's a genuinely fascinating journey, so get ready to take some mental notes. Let's dive in. So picture this for a second. Imagine you've got two students facing the exact same high-pressure situation, like a massive final exam. One student is sitting there totally calm, cool as a cucumber. The other, visibly nervous, maybe sweating a bit, totally stressed out. Now, it's the exact same room, the exact same test, the exact same stakes for both of them. So why the completely different reactions? Well, this relatable little scenario is essentially the ultimate mystery of human behavior and miscommunication. And the answer? It lies in the two massive concepts we're unpacking today.
Here's our roadmap for today. 1. What is personality? 2. Classifying who we are. 3. 4 theories of personality. 4. The lens of perception. 5. 5 steps of perception. And finally, 6. Your psychology cheat sheet.
Section 1. What is personality? The internal engine. Okay, so when we throw around the word personality, we aren't just talking about someone being, funny or serious. Personality is actually the sum total of an individual's physical, mental, emotional, and social characteristics that directly influence their behavior. Basically, it's this unique, dynamic, yet remarkably consistent overall pattern of how you think, feel, and behave. It develops over time, and it's heavily influenced by both our heredity, so the genetics we're born with, and our environment, our family, our friends, the culture we grow up in. Section 2. Classifying who we are. Types of personality. To make sense of all this complex human behavior, we broadly classify personality types. On one side, you have the introvert. This is someone who generally prefers quiet surroundings and individual activities. Think of the student who just loves studying alone in a quiet corner. On the flip side, we have the extrovert. These are the folks who absolutely thrive on social interaction, constant communication, and group activities. Now, a super quick trick to remember this? Think introvert for inside and extrovert for outside. It's simple, for sure, but it's an incredibly effective way to categorize exactly where people draw their energy from. But hey, human beings are complicated, right? We're really just 100% one thing or the other. Enter the ambivert. An ambivert has characteristics of both introversion and extroversion. They essentially get the best of both worlds. It's like a social butterfly who also knows exactly when it's time to retreat back to their cocoon. They might absolutely love going out, being the total life of the party, but they also deeply, deeply value their alone time to recharge their batteries. Section 3. 4 theories of personality. 4 key frameworks. Let's start breaking down why we are the way we are. First up is Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory, which divides your personality into 3 constantly competing parts. First, you've got the id. This operates purely on the pleasure principle. It represents our most basic primal desires. It's that part of the brain just screaming, I want it right now. Then you have the ego. The ego deals with reality. It basically tries to balance those raw desires with real-world conditions, asking, okay, I want it, but can I actually have it right now? And finally, there's the superego. This represents our morals, our values, social rules, the strict inner rule-maker saying, I shouldn't do this because it's wrong. So, to easily remember Freud's balancing act, id equals desire, ego equals reality, and superego equals morality. Next up is trait theory. And before we even get into these specific traits, I want you to just burn this mnemonic into your brain. Ocean equals the personality C. Just picture a vast ocean, and you will never, ever forget the core components of trait theory. So let's break down that OCEAN acronym. Trait theory argues that personality is really just a collection of relatively stable characteristics. The big 5 are openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, which is basically a measure of emotional stability. Instead of looking at deep, hidden, subconscious battles like Freud did, trait theory simply measures these 5 distinct metrics to map out exactly who you are. All right, so pulling the internal engine all together, we have 4 major theories. We just covered psychoanalytic and trait theories, but we also have social learning theory, which was championed by Albert Bandura. This one argues that we develop our personality purely by observing, imitating, and learning from our environment. Observe, imitate, learn. It's that simple. And finally, humanistic theory, driven by key thinkers like Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers. This one takes a beautifully positive view. It focuses heavily on personal growth, self-development, and our inherent natural drive to achieve our absolute highest potential.
Section 4. The lens of perception. Interpreting the world.
Okay, we've talked about the internal. Let's shift to the external. What exactly is perception? Well, it's the process by which individuals select, organize, and interpret sensory information to create a meaningful understanding of their environment. The key thing here? It is wildly subjective. Think about this. Imagine a student sitting completely quiet in a classroom. One teacher might look at that student and perceive them as shy or maybe even disengaged, but a second teacher might look at that exact same student and perceive them as deeply focused and incredibly attentive. The external situation is literally identical, but the psychological interpretation, the perception, is entirely different because it's based on the observer's own mind and past experiences.
Section 5. 5 Steps of Perception. How we process info.
I actually want you to think about how your own brain is processing this very explainer as we walk through this precise 5-step process of perception. Step 1 is receiving a stimulus, something like hearing a teacher call your name. Step 2 is selection. We literally can't notice everything going on around us, so we have to select information. In this case, you focus on your teacher's voice, ignoring the noisy classroom. Step 3 is organization, where your mind instantly connects that specific voice to an instruction. Step 4 is interpretation, where you give meaning to it. You realize, oh, the teacher's asking me a specific question. And finally, step 5 is response. You act on that interpretation and you answer the teacher. So that flow is stimulus, selection, organization, interpretation, and response. Now, we absolutely love making things efficient for you, so here is a super easy mnemonic anchor to guarantee you can recall this sequence, whether it's for an exam or just navigating life. Students select, organized interpretations, respond. SSOIR. If you can just remember that one simple sentence, you have the entire psychological process of perception locked in. Section 6, your psychology cheat sheet. Last-minute revision. All right, rapid-fire recap time. First, our internal engine, personality. Remember, its meaning is your overall pattern of thoughts, feelings, and behavior. By nature, it's totally unique to you, dynamic enough to grow over time, yet beautifully consistent. You can be classified as an introvert, you draw energy from the inside, an extrovert, the outside, or an ambivert, a bit of both. And never forget our 4 pillars of theory. Freud's psychoanalytic, balancing active desires, the ocean of trait theory, Bandura's social learning through observation, and the humanistic drive for your highest potential championed by Maslow and Rogers. These are absolutely your critical takeaways from mastering personality. And rounding out our cheat sheet is our external lens perception. The vital facts to remember here are its meaning. It's how we select, organize, and interpret information. By nature, it's a psychological process that is highly selective, incredibly subjective, and completely dynamic based on your own life experiences. And the split-second journey it takes through your brain always follows that SSOIR path: stimulus, selection, organization, interpretation, and response. So, we've explored the internal engine of who you are and the external lens through which you view the world. I want to leave you with one final provocative thought that ties this whole inside-out arc together. Based on your unique, dynamic personality traits, whether you naturally lean towards introversion or extroversion, openness or conscientiousness, how did your brain just perceive this entire explainer? Did you select or interpret different pieces of information than someone else might have? Really think about it. Because at the end of the day, understanding these concepts isn't just about passing a test. It is about finally understanding yourself. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.